Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hashtag Truth. Tonight we have the one, the only Brian Kanabroski from PWX Wrestling. How you doing tonight, sir?
Doing excellent, Scott. Hopefully we don't have any echo, so I was just messing with my stuff on my side to make sure.
We're all good. We're going to start right off. Alexander saying, what's up? How's it going, Alexander? All right, so let's get right into it, sir. You are the promoter, the owner of PWX. For those of who are watching the show who don't know how you became that, can you give us the story?
A little bit of backstory. PWX, we're coming up on over 16 years. Formerly, what were we? Pro Wrestling Syndicate at one time, PWS. CWA, Carolina Wrestling Association, even further back.
Wow.
I took over in August of 13, technical ownership, became a partner in June of 13.
Nice.
So
the names that have come through PWX, I mean, it's a who's who. I can see all the posters you have behind your head. I see Kevin Steen, the huge poster you have over there. And if anybody don't know who Kevin Steen is, that's KO, Monday Night Raw. Yes, the man himself. You've seen a lot of good wrestlers come through PWX. Tell me about that.
Oh, good Lord. I mean, you can go back to one of the first shows prior to my ownership. I mean, Hulk Hogan, Flair, were on one of the first PWX shows. I mean, from there you've got, Big KO, Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens. I mean, Cedric Alexander, Cody Rhodes, Adam Page. Good Lord. I mean,
It's a who's who. It's a who's who. Trust me.
Tim Don, Chuck Taylor, Young Bucks. I mean, it's just pretty much. I mean, you've got Riddle up there, ACH, wow. Teddy Long, Walter. I mean.
Well, I will tell you this. You did this for me, and it was just an eye-opener. If you don't believe the names that have went through PWX, you can go to PWX's website, and they have up at the top, it says roster. Click on that, and it'll go through the years, like 2000 whatever, all the way through till present. And you will see all the names of every wrestler that's come through PWX. And let me tell you, it is a who's who of wrestling on TV right now. Let me tell you. You can see from his background, from behind him, it's just a plethora of great wrestlers. Now, PWX doesn't run in just one area, correct?
No. We typically travel. We're now up to 2 brands. So we have PWX and then PWX Pure. PWX Pure was an original idea in 2015 as a 1 or 2 time a year show. That developed into its own brand once we got the building in 2018, Hebron Hall. So now that's developed into what we basically our NXT or our minors. So for us, we don't have enough shows to really highlight as many people as we want to. So the way we look at it is, okay, Pure, you'll get a mix of PWX guys with a lot of people who want to be on the PWX roster who might not be ready for that yet.
Right.
Or, limited experience, but, got a good look. Need a little bit more character development. That's, a little bit of fine tuning before they're on the main roster.
It's basically that's what NXT does for WWE. So,
and it's set up the same way NXT is. We've had them film in our building before for some stuff. Now that they did the Peacock deal, you'll see a little guest appearances from Hebron Hall on a couple of TV shows that were already filmed. That'll be coming out, I believe, good Lord, all the months run together since COVID started. But that'll be coming out probably here in the next 3 months. Just keep an eye out for the one with Sergeant Slaughter. There's a new show on that, but it'll be pretty neat to see what ends up happening with that footage. I'm looking forward to seeing it because the building came out great.
Right.
So,
well, speaking of your roster and all the things that are going on, you guys, COVID just shut down everybody for a little while. I mean, there was about a month or so where nobody was wrestling back in March of last year.
Yeah, so we decided, since we're primarily in North Carolina, we decided just to not run.
Right.
So it's a little bit myself, Tracy Myers, Brian Hawks up at AML. We've kind of mutually decided that until we have the ability to run shows where we can actually draw the size crowd that we need, we want to make sure everybody's safe. And I'm in Charlotte, so I'm in a major city.
Right.
And for me to jump through the hoops to go through the county and the city there is a little bit more than everybody else. Same thing with AML up in Winston-Salem.
Right. So you guys, what was the date that you guys finally made your appearance back at major? I was running a video for a while. I can't remember the exact date though. I know it was in January.
Yeah, so we just came back January 16th.
That's it.
This year. So what we ended up doing, so last March, Rise of a Champion was set for, I believe, the 21st of March 21st of 2020. That was set. Pre-sale, first row, second row was gone. Third row, you know what I mean? That I'm working with just bleachers left for Gastonia. We had 265 sold pre-sale.
Wow.
Okay.
Quick.
But we had, Sammy Callahan was coming back. We had some other good little stuff planned. It was tough because it was like, okay, we don't use brown paper tickets because they had a ton of issues back in the beginning of COVID, especially anyone that was around WrestleMania shows. So what we ended up doing, we have a different ticket provider who's Simple Tix, who's here in North Carolina. So they do everything for us, do a great job, local company. But we held the tickets, and I'm like, okay, we're not coming back in March. We're not coming back in April. We're not coming back in May. Well, June, July, and August are gone too. I think it was beginning of June. So I ended up refunding 265 tickets.
Somewhere that hurt the pocketbook.
$7,000. Yeah.
Ow.
Yeah. So, but we don't ever run on the gate. So, it was just sitting in there, and then I had some fans that said, no, just donate my tickets because we had a roster because some of the guys were having trouble finding an hourly shoot job or regular job. We were, making donations. So anything off of our pivot share money was going directly to them to at least get them a month or two of a little bit of money just to have some sort of necessity money,
Right. Some sort of income coming in.
Yeah. Because, a lot of my guys are full time. Right. They're, Thursday through Sunday, they're working shows. And when all of a sudden there's no shows, there's no shows.
The guys that are working PWX, and I'm not too proud to say it, these are the guys that are next in line to go to the NXTs, to go to the Raws and the SmackDowns. It's not like, we talked before about, different levels of independent shows. PWX is right there underneath the NXTs and the AEWs.
Yes, with the phone calls I have on a bi-weekly basis, I know who's coming and who's going.
And we discussed this before the show for a few minutes. You not only work with companies here, but you're working with New Japan.
Yeah, so prior to COVID, and this is unfortunate. So prior to COVID, so I guess my title is event liaison here in the lower 48. So what I was doing is handling venue booking, travel. They handle the booking of the matches, but I would handle the venue, handle the ticketer, handle the labor, handle the travel for all the production. Our team. So we narrow it down to 12 people roughly that travels with them.
Right.
So we did we did Boston Lowell Memorial Auditorium for them. We did Hammerstein Ballroom. I actually got to do a show in Hammerstein, and then ECW Arena. Did a show in ECW Arena, and then what was it? January, like the 20th through the 26th of 2020 was when we did the Southeast New Beginnings tour for them, and it went well. Everybody happy. I'm stuck in limbo right now. I mean, I'll get I'm Obari-san, who's their president. We text once a week, just to say hi and pleasantries and all that stuff.
Just to keep in touch.
Correct. But I mean, we still are doing some work for them currently. Part of my production team is working for them directly. So I mean, that window and that doorway is literally a text or a phone call.
So there's always communication. You're working with them in some way, fashion, or form.
Correct. Absolutely. So it's important for me to keep that relationship going, because I mean, I want to help them establish themselves here stateside. So I mean, they've
been talking for a long time. I mean, there's been rumors for quite a while now that New Japan's going to come in and actually try to make a run at WWE and AEW as the third big brand in America.
I don't know. Well, the New Japan of America, which is the subsidiary of New Japan, okay, is very conservative in their growth. Okay, so they're not going to come out guns blazing. That just isn't them. Right. But they'll establish themselves, get more and more established with the casual fan. Once they have that and they can travel and they know, okay, if we run Nashville, we're going to draw 800 at the Nashville War Memorial. Or, hey, if we run the ECW Arena, call Brian, get us in the ECW Arena, we can put 1,200 people in there.
Right.
So, exactly. which is on par with what Evolve/NXT did with their live broadcast, which I was there for, helping out them when they did the Evolve anniversary show at ECW Arena, the one that was broadcast on the network.
Right. I love them shows, by the way. I've still been trying forever, and I'm going to need your help. I'm going to ask you live. Yes, JD, I'm doing this live. I'm going to need your help to get JD Drake on the hashtag truth. It's only been 4 years I've been asking him.
Hold on. Let me get out the phone.
He's going to text JD Drake live on hashtag truth. Oh, that is so great. That is crazy great. But, yeah, I don't even know what to say at this point because I don't want to interrupt your texting because I've been really seriously trying to get him on the show for 4 years.
He's probably bowling right now.
Oh, man. That would be even better.
Or playing softball.
That's crazy. Well, I'll tell you what. We're gonna talk about what makes PWX separate from a lot of the other companies in North Carolina as soon as we come out of this break right here. So we'll be right back with some more with Brian Kanabroski in just 1 minute.
When I see you, you're gonna know that you're a man wanted dead or alive, cause that is what I'm coming after.
Dr. Tom Pritchard coming to the Center Arena. If you want to get trained by Dr. Tom, get a hold of Titan Wrestling Southside. Now, we talked just before the break. I was saying that, there was a rant that I did about 2 months ago, I believe, and I know you was listening to it. And I was talking about the different levels of the wrestling shows and things like that. And I made a challenge during that rant. I said, look, PWX, as far as independent professional wrestling shows go, they are the top dog in our area. Who's going to be the independent show to step up to PWX? Was that a correct thing to say? I mean, I know you own the company, you're running the company. Do you look at yourself as the premier?
So James Jake, by the way, says, I know. I mean, financially, it's not possible. I mean, it's just not.
Okay.
Well, let me take that back. There is one company, if you wanted to, could financially invest it. But the problem is we built our brand. We built our audience around that brand. We built our roster around that brand. Our job is to help the roster guys build their own personal brands, and then we build ourselves as a group. Okay. Right. And then we're extremely limited on who we will allow to work for us.
Okay.
Okay. So, but is there a need for every type of wrestling in the Carolinas? Yes, to a point.
Okay.
Everybody's got to have growth as you build and build and build and build.
Right.
So,
is there anything now? You said you only take certain. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you only take certain wrestlers that will be able to enter the PWX brand. What are some faux pas that will make you say no right away?
If I don't know who your trainer is.
Okay. Okay.
Like right now on our roster, I could probably, for anyone that's local, name who their trainer is.
Okay. I got you. That makes sense. I agree with that.
Okay. When it comes down to, and if we go a little lower, if we go into PWX Pure, I still know who their trainer is, or they've worked some of the PWX guys to where that communication and that networking gets them to make an introduction to me or Patrick or someone who's booking, whoever the booker is,
right, to
make that connection.
So they still have to, no matter what. Like if let's just wrestler X, okay, all right, from some little town in South Carolina, calls up Brian Kanabroski, gets his phone number somehow, calls him up, says, "Hey, sir, I want to come wrestle for you." What is the next thing you would say to that wrestler?
Easiest way I can tell you is you need to first make sure you wrestle someone who's already on our roster.
Okay.
Or have previously, and I don't care where, you know what I mean, but just have previously worked someone to where I know there's a safety factor involved, that I know you can work. I know your skill level is at a certain point. And that's the key. I mean, I'm keeping an eye on some guys right now that have never worked for us.
Right.
But I'm aware of them. I'm paying attention to them. If an opportunity comes open to open a spot, or, hey, we think we can, we need this type of character. Who do we know?
Okay. So you actually reach out also.
I don't as much. I handle most of the out of town bookings.
Okay.
So in other words, like when Sammy wants to come in and work, or like with Tommaso or Roderick Strong or one of those, I would handle those. Just because of the relationship with a third party gets me the number, and then I just text directly and be like, hey, it's Brian from PWX in North Carolina. Got your number from blank. He said you'd make a good fit. I've got an opening. Here's what the match potentially will be. Would you be interested? And I'll reach out that way.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I already know what they're going to ask me for pretty much before I reach out to them.
Right.
You know, so it's not a money thing.
Have you ever had anybody that has told you a dollar amount or something that is way above what you were thinking? Have you ever had that guy?
Probably.
Now, I don't want to names, but I'm just saying, have you ever called up somebody and said, hey, I've got an opening. This guy wrestled. I know you're the perfect fit for what we're about to do for this storyline or something. What would it take to get you here? And somebody gives you a dollar amount that just makes you go, are you kidding me? You're not Hulk Hogan?
No, I haven't. I mean, I already know what it takes to book most of them. Okay. When you get into people on TV, there's a certain number, you know. Now, even some of the guys on TV, because they enjoy working for us, they already know what type of hotel they're going to stay in. They already know what type of flight they're going to have. If I need to get them a rental car, they'll have a rental car. So, I mean, it's one of those where you take care of the boys and they will take care of you, you know.
So that in a nutshell would separate PWX from a lot of these other rosters in the Carolinas. Is there's not a lot of rosters that can fly people in and pay for a hotel room for them. There's not a lot of rosters that can fly people in, get them a rent a car if they need one. I mean, that right there. I mean, it comes down to money, basically, is what you're saying.
A little bit. Money's only part of it. Okay. But it's taken a long time to get to that point.
Right.
I mean, I've had some losses that would blow people's mind, you know.
I have just now recently, since I started doing hashtag, got involved in trying to figure out what promoters go through. And it wouldn't blow my mind. I with all the investigating that I've done and talking to a lot of the promoters and putting things together, I mean, yours probably is on a bigger scale money-wise than any of the guys that I've talked to. But I can understand where one little small slip-up on your part and money's heading out the door.
What's a good comparison? Okay, so my advertising for 4 days is probably more than a roster cost for one show sometimes. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, if anybody goes on PWX or PWX, your other PWX
Pure, yes.
Pure, PWX Pure, and they see the videos and they see the quality of everything, they'll understand why. I mean, there's no, and everything is yours. The music, the every clip comes from one of your shows. There's nothing there that you're taking from the outside. It's all production, and you have your own production crew that does all that, correct?
Yeah, if it wasn't for our team, we wouldn't be the brand that we are. I mean, we have a team. So we have our TV crew or our video crew, okay, that is 4 people that work for me, and the only other place they work for is New Japan.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Now, with all this money that you're talking about, with like getting hotel rooms for people, and we're not talking small wrestling guys. I mean, you mentioned Tommaso Ciampa. He's on NXT all the time. WWE. You're talking some pretty good names in the wrestling business. People who have made their names known. They're known USA wide, without a doubt, if you're a wrestling fan.
Correct. And most of the time, the people that we'll be bringing in via flights will either be like, you know, we've had New Japan people, you know, we had Liger. I mean, when you're talking that big of a name,
right?
It's apples and oranges. I mean, you know,
residential treatment, right? Almost.
Liger was treated very well. I mean, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I could imagine. Now, I'm assuming that, that PWX doesn't do this by themselves. I'm pretty sure that you have a team that goes out and gets sponsors, or yourself goes out and gets sponsors to help you out. How does that work?
Our sponsor is Brian Kanabroski.
Okay. Now, see, there you go. See, I learned something.
Do we work with some smaller, I like working with small businesses.
Right.
So like, I guess our biggest sponsor, we're now working with Bang Energy. So we'll have them at all of our shows moving forward. I'm 99% positive that deal's done. Title Belt Ice Cream. They do custom ice cream flavors for us. So we have, and we're adding them this month into concessions, which is pretty cool. Take a peek at this.
Oh, wow. Check that out. I love it.
So this was,
that's the cover to the ice cream.
To the ice cream cup. Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
So, and then Diggs Hunting and Fishing does rods, reels, and stuff like that. They're big for us when we head out east, like Concord, Albemarle, Rockingham. But I mean, we've partnered with the WSS.
Those look really cool. He enjoyed that.
So Seth Webb, make sure you partake. We will have them. My personal favorite is Patrick Price Krispies treat with Brian Canabrownies.
Brian Canabrownies. That is great.
The hard part was, so I brought home probably a good dozen of the little tiny pint cups, like from back in school and back in the day, right?
Right.
So I brought home, and it's vegan ice cream, so there's no artificial flavors, no artificial sugars, anything in it. So I brought home 12 of them, put them in the freezer, thinking, oh, every once in a while I can make it 4 weeks till the next show. My kids got a hold of all of them.
They didn't last 2 days, did they?
They didn't last 1 day.
Wow.
My daughter was like, so I'm looking, I'm like, did you eat all Daddy's ice cream? And I got no. I'm like, are you sure? Okay, yeah.
We might have got 1 or 2 of them.
So I'm hoping they bring back my flavor this month. But JD Drake had one. Savannah Evans did. Shug Dunkerton had a Pineapple Pete one. So I mean, it's cool. But I mean, what I like is they're just starting. 2 guys, they work in a bakery, but they're really good chefs. So they're coming up with all these ice cream flavors. They're big wrestling fans. So I'm like, man, I'll help you. I'll push you all to the moon. I was like, can I get some to sell at concessions?
Awesome. That good humor eats your heart out. And if you know anything about wrestling, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. So, I mean, but it's one of those where sponsors, I'm always looking for sponsors. I think it's hard in the wrestling business because I want to stand on my own before I use someone else's money.
Right.
The biggest issue I have is people taking advantage of sponsors and not giving them the benefit. You should offer to do it for free first.
Right.
Show them the reward, then negotiate some sort of compensation.
It took me on #truth. It took me over 4 years to even think about that. 4 years. And I have no problem showing any of my sponsors down here. And they know I'll show them the numbers, the views I get. They see the shows. They watch the shows all the time. All my sponsors do. So they know the number of people. They know the number of people that come to their shows that watch my show.
Right.
So yeah, I had to prove myself though, so I can understand where you're coming from when you say that. I really can.
It's one of those where it's difficult because in the past there was a recipe that worked. Crockett took full advantage of it. Okay. But the problem was let's just say 1990 to 2010, there was 20 years of indie wrestling taking advantage of small business owners.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, or large business owners, you know, to where promise the world, don't worry, buddy, if we bring this guy in, I'll pay you back twofold.
Right.
Sometimes that doesn't work, because if the promoter is relying just on that money to pay the bills for that show, and then that show's not successful, then that's the responsibility on the promoter, not the sponsor.
Right. That is, and that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of promoters out there. That is a hard pill to swallow, and that's a hard responsibility for a lot of promoters to accept out there, because you do have some that they'll put the blame game on people. And you know, I don't know very many of them. I know a few, I know a couple, but if things don't go right, it's everybody else's fault but theirs.
The promoter's job is to get people to show up.
Yes.
That's it.
Right.
That's the number one on the list.
Right.
Mine is number 2, make sure they have an amazing time and they come back again and again and again and again.
Right.
If you talk to any random PWX fan, it's very rare that they only make it to one show and they don't come back.
Right.
You know, I mean, I could pull the numbers up. It's probably 80% return. Right. After the first show.
I can give you a local guy around this area that has been to PWX a few times, James Johnson. He has been there more than once. He was running a feud there at PWX Pure, and I loved it. I was watching it at the time. It was something special. So I haven't been there in person, but I got to see video of it. I'll just put it that way.
And that free ticket doesn't have any expiration date on it.
I will be there for a show, I promise you. You told me you have 2 coming up in Rock Hill. We'll get to that later when I ask where you're going to be. But I can almost guarantee I'll be at one of those. I'll figure it out.
If you make it to the first one, I'll bet you'll make it to the second one.
I probably will. Probably will.
Because we pride ourselves on taking care of the fans. You know what I mean? Whether that's the emotional connections that they witness in the live action in front of them, taking care of them from the front door to concessions to helping getting seated. It's a weird time, but it's something we've always had instilled. I mean, I grew up in retail with my dad. Customers always right, even when they're wrong, they're still right.
Right, exactly. We're going to come right back after this quick message from XWW, and we're going to continue our conversation with Brian Kanabroski. I've got so many questions. We'll be right back.
You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond which they must not advance. Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material complications. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn they're spirits, not animals. He said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells doom. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
There you go, XWW coming in March. Now, I've always had a question for you because I've seen, like I said, I haven't been there in person, but I've seen footage of your shows and everything. How large is the production crew that you have at PWX? I mean, the people that come in, put up the ring, the announcers that get the announcer table and all that stuff ready. The people, like you said, you got people who make sure that all the seats are there where they're supposed to be. You probably have ushers. I mean, how big is the production?
15 to 20. probably.
Wow, that's pretty big.
So we have Palmetto Wrestling Academy comes up and helps us with the ring. They're learning a little bit of the production side to a point. We've got one gentleman lighting, another one sound, another one live switching, another one video switching. Then we've got either a 2 or a 3-man announce booth. Then we've got a live director. So to give you an idea, we're same exact experience of what they're doing at NXT, we're doing at PWX.
Right. And
So
that, how many times have you had a wrestler wrestle at a PWX show, and the second they come through the curtain, they come and find you, and they're like, "Man, I can't wait till the next show."
most of the time they don't even see me.
Oh wow.
So I spend most of my time out with the fans, making sure everybody's happy.
Nice. I love that. Now, as a fan, I love to hear that. So you actually sit out there with the audience, or out there among the audience, and watch your show?
Yes.
Oh, I love to hear that. That warms my heart as a fan.
We all have our own wheelhouse of what we're good at. I dabble in booking to the point of, hey, this is the names I want to bring in. They're available this date, this date, this date, and go from there.
Right.
Okay. Like, or I'll call an audible on a show if I want. Someone texts me and says, hey, I'm available for your April show. Can we set that up now? But see, we book 3 to 9 months out.
Okay.
We're not a month to month.
Right. How many shows does PWX run in a year, so people can understand that?
So we run 12 to 14 PWX shows and 12 pure shows.
Okay.
And I think what the fans like, Seth Webb, maybe he's still in here, he can contribute. But I think what the fans like is there's different storylines on each brand, but sometimes they'll intertwine and cross over. Or we'll take something that happened on a PWX show and highlight it even more on the pure brand. So that way there's a lot of continuity between both. And within the two brands, you can kind of crisscross some people and not hurt feelings.
Which is basically, again, and I hate to keep beating this dead horse, but it's true, which basically is like NXT. If you had a rivalry in NXT and they went up to Raw, that rivalry is still going to be there. They're going to go, hey, look who just came up. They've had, 7 matches down in NXT. They've all been great. You're not going to want to miss this next one. Something similar to that.
Yeah. And plus my commentators are not limited from talking about other organizations at all. So when we have, if you listen to Kevin Kelly on New Japan English commentator, he'll talk about PWX every once in a while. And then at the same time, when he's working for us, when he's here, he'll, bring up something from Japan that was mentioned about PWX, or, him and Chase Owens or someone is at one of the one of the halls in Japan, but that's where they filmed their promo for PWX in 2 weeks.
Nice.
So, and then or Brett Wolverton and Dave Foster and Trevin Adams will bring up, hey, TJ Boss had a really long feud with JD Drake at APW Chester. That was a really good feud, so that gets mentioned even on our commentary.
Right. See, I love that. I love it when people when they cross, and fans love that. As a fan, I love that, you're not so bent in your own, company that you can't mention another company and say, hey, these guys were really fighting over there. They're at this show. You never know what's going to happen. That gets me excited. Hey, I might see something,
And they also mentioned that with Timmy Lou Retton and Rob Killjoy, they've had battles all over the world, and all over the states and maybe even into Canada. When they were tags or single, they've had those battles as well, to where it's all continuity. The fans in 2021 aren't dumb,
right?
They're not.
They're not. There's a lot of marks in professional wrestling. I'm
a
lot of who do their homework.
Correct, but I wouldn't use the word mark. Okay, I'd use I would put the word smart mark before it. Okay. But not the word mark, because it's too derogatory and has too much of a derogatory history on it.
I got you.
I mean, that's why I use the word educated fan, or because a mark is, to me, someone you take advantage of.
Right.
Okay. It has that continuity still on it. I mean, a lot of reason why I have a lot of WCW stuff is I appreciated that timeline in wrestling.
Oh. The Monday Night Wars were probably, if you ask me of any time in any era of wrestling, what my favorite, it was the Monday Night Wars, WCW versus Monday Nitro versus Monday Night Raw.
And see, I'm a golden era kid.
There you go.
So for me, it was JYD, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Hulk Hogan, Mr. Fuji, Sergeant Slaughter, Andre.
And for them guys, that would have never got set up where the Monday Night War started, where, Hall and Nash came over to
correct.
With that, they would have never built those names.
No. And that's the whole thing. And then, I mean, we could get into talking about the territory days and all that stuff, but
I've got to put some of these up here on the screen, because there's people that keep thinking that I'm ignoring them, and I'm really not. Josh Cash says, "What's up, guys?" Margie said, "Hey, Scott and Brian." Randy Carpenter said, "I went to the last show and Brian was making sure everyone had seats, plus making sure everyone was safe." I love that. Again, I that is awesome. Josh said, "Great podcast." Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it, man. Without a doubt. Loves. Margie. See, this is Margie. Margie thought I was ignoring her. How you guys doing? We're doing great, Margie.
I can't see Margie's comments for some reason.
I'm up there. Here, let me change the font on it. Maybe.
No. I think I put myself in the chat, right?
Right.
Just so I could see some of those comments with you, Scott. So
let's see is that better where you can see them?
Yep.
There you go. I'll make them bigger. I went back to the ordinary font. So there you go.
Yeah. So it's been an interesting. I mean, it took a lot of very careful planning. So like we did sanitizer stations. We gave away free masks. We require temperature checks at the door.
Right.
And this has basically been the model that AEW has used.
Right.
In Jacksonville.
They're doing that in Lincoln too. They have, for some reason, they've got the nickname the COVID Dome down there, and I don't know why. I don't know. I laugh at it, but every one of the organizations that run out of Lincolnton right there at the Center Arena, every one of those shows do temperature checks at the door, make announcements, make sure everybody has a mask. If you don't wear a mask, they literally ask you to leave. I mean, it's that simple. So, yeah, there's a lot of shows that are trying to do that. Some do it, some don't. But I'm glad to hear that PWX is really taking safety to, the highest level.
Yeah, I mean, we're at that time right now. Until we either, on a political rant, until we reach herd immunity, or a certain amount of people vaccinated, which is 80%.
Right.
We're going to be stuck wearing masks, and we're going to be stuck doing temperature checks.
Right. Without a doubt.
Because, if you look at it this way, in January I had to stop selling tickets.
Right.
You know, when I have to turn the faucet off, when I know people want to attend, it is what it is. But I mean, so I'll turn in my numbers, turn in my gate receipts in South Carolina, and kind of go from there. You know, but until we get it opened up, I mean, because I'm hoping something changes by March. I really am.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's I not to get political, but this might last another whole year. I don't know. We never know. It's wrestling. I mean, to be honest with you, the politicians aren't thinking about the last thing they're thinking about is wrestling. I can
No.
guarantee you that. And I just, and me personally, I don't mind people putting shows up on the internet and selling them on the internet, you know, a view on the internet. But I'm a fan. I'm a hands-on fan. I want to go and watch the action at the arena. That's wrestling to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And as long as everybody's being safe, everybody's doing it the right way, that's where I want to be. I want to be there to see those wrestlers take those bumps. I want to be there to see the entrance and hear the entrance music and, you know, and to cheer and, you know, boo the bad guys, cheer the good guys, or whichever, you know, you want to do. That's what I'm all about. That to me is professional wrestling. And when that was taken away from us last March, that hurt. That hurt a lot of people's feelings. As a matter of fact, I know some friends who haven't even recovered. They don't even want to come back until they won't watch TV wrestling, nothing. They say the TVs are stupid. They hate the TVs up there. You know, I understand them, but they say they hate them.
I know right now, I mean, I have some fans with with health issues, and it's that they'll be patient. They'll wait, you know. I mean, I've got some other alternatives coming up for them. You'll have an announcement, let's say by the 22nd of February, and everything we have in the works that is ready to go. I'm just being patient and don't want to take anything away from February, move it before we move into March.
Right.
So, but to give you an idea, what I do is anyone who buys a ticket, and here's so anyone that buys a ticket to February automatically gets early ticket option for March.
Right.
Because if I'm limited on the number of front row seats, they go quick.
Right. Right. And it's not fair to people who were already there, involved, you know, invested in the show to be second behind somebody who's just coming in, who might just, you know, by chance get the first call or get there early to buy a ticket.
Correct.
I got you. I like that. Oh, here we go. Chase Emery. Speaking of a young star coming up, he said, good show. Kanabroski is such a professional. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, I mean, that's there's a reason there's a word professional in professional wrestling.
Exactly.
So, and for me, the best advice I can give to the young guys, remember the old school stuff. Okay? Paying dues, okay? And paying dues isn't working for free. Paying dues, helping promote your brand while promoting the other brand. Okay. Do I take notice of people who don't work for me that promote our shows? Absolutely. Okay. You got to understand, when you're doing things on our scale, we track everything. Okay. Right. I know your zip code. It would take me about 2 minutes to look it up, Scott.
Right.
You know what I mean? But, and then I know,
you have my phone number.
I mean, right. What I'm saying, when you have all the information, and the world is all about information right now, you've got to be very specific in how you reach a 2020-21 wrestling fan with a mix and the help of everybody on your team.
Exactly.
So PWX wouldn't be what it is if it was just me. It wouldn't.
Right.
At all.
I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Word of mouth is still the best way to put any show out there. I mean, I've always said from the beginning, if you don't have a whole ton of money, the internet, the social highway, that is your platform. That is your TV. Use it to the biggest advantage that you can. But if you get 200, 300, 400 people that love watching the show, love watching what you're putting out there, somebody's going to go home and tell somebody else that didn't go to that show with you. Somebody's going to go home and go, oh my gosh, you should have seen this wrestling show I went to.
And we do casual surveys. It's like, hey, who's first time here? Most of the time I'll know who they are, because if I'm limited to 250 people, I'll know who 200 of them are, and I can introduce myself to the last 50.
Right? Exactly. And that's not only being a good promoter, but that's being a good businessman. I mean, look at, and I know he gets talked about all the time, but Vince McMahon, I've been told that man, once you meet him and you're somebody important to him at all, he'll never forget your name. The next time he sees you, it could be a year down the road, and he'll walk up to you and shake your hand and call you by name.
So when I was working New Japan and William Regal showed up in Atlanta,
I love William.
That was fun because he knew who I was because of helping out Evolve in Philly. And Paul Heyman, I was introduced to Paul Heyman. So it was like one of these where it's like, oh, well, Paul's had some really good stuff to say about you. How's everything going with New Japan? And I'm like, what? I'm like,
Twilight Zone. How do you know about me?
And it's one of those where you don't realize it. And then where was I? So like when we did, so I help out with the live events for WrestleCon as well. And I mean, one of the most surreal situations was it was a 6:30 a.m. flight from New Orleans to Charlotte, right? This is, what was it? 2019 was WrestleMania in New Orleans, right? I think 2019.
Yes.
So I'm flying back Monday morning, wife's with me, and someone comes up and said, Mr. Kanabroski, can I have your autograph? And I was like, it's 6:30 in the morning. I haven't even had my coffee. I was like, okay. So then I sit down. I don't say anything. I look over to my wife, and she just has this look, and she goes, you're full of yourself right now. I was like,
I thought the way that story was going that we were going to hear about the heel side of Mr. Kanabroski.
No, not at all. The heel side,
I haven't even had my coffee yet.
the heel side is either A, when I don't have my coffee, B, something goes wrong and no one comes up with a solution.
Yes.
So my whole thing and what has led to a lot of success is, thank you to whoever just purchased the ticket, by the way.
I love that. Yes.
I mean, I literally get a notification with a name. You know what I mean? So
there you
go. But the whole thing is like, you got to be prepared for the unexpected. That's the first thing I was told about being a promoter in professional wrestling. Okay. That was number one. Number two is, for those of you who know Cue Ball Carmichael, Christopher Jackson did a stint with WWE, very well respected in the business here in the Carolinas. Okay. Did a lot of work with the Hardys and Omega. Okay. The first thing he told me, he's like, Brian, if you're going to be a promoter, you're going to bring X amount of dollars to every single show before you sell a single ticket. Okay. And it's a pretty large 4-figure number. Okay.
Wow.
Here's the reason why, and here's the thinking behind it. Okay. Have I been to shows where you have had to take care of things immediately, whether it be a fan not happy with their seat, okay, and it's immediately, hey, look, I can move you 2 seats over because I need to have the room here to have a fire aisle and have a pathway to the door. I understand you purchased this seat in particular, But if you would kindly move over 2 seats, I've got to eliminate these 2. You're still going to be in the same spot. We're just slide it over 6 feet. I've had to gift T-shirts just to get someone to move 6 feet.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But you got to understand.
They won't forget that. But the thing is, that fan won't forget that you did that.
Correct. And it's the little things that go a really long way. And it's paying attention to the little things that go a really long way.
Right.
Knowing someone's name, shaking their hand. Thank you for whoever that other. Thank you, Philip. Cup Philip. Sorry, they're going by pretty quick, but
pretty cool.
So, but it's the things that you need to pay attention to. It's the shaking someone's hand, thanking them for their patronage and for spending their hard-earned dollars during a pandemic with you. That goes a very long way, and that is free advice to any promoter running shows right now.
Now, what would you tell to a wrestler right now about how to promote yourself during the pandemic? Because there are some wrestlers, and I get mad about this all the time. A lot of wrestlers think it's the promoter's job to make them, to let everybody know that they're there, they're at a show. Is that the same way you feel? Is it your job to make sure that, wrestler X is known that he's going to be at PWX, or is it partially yours and partially his?
It's a good question, Scott. You didn't stump me. I'm just trying to politically word it correctly.
Oh, you're good, man. Take your time. Because
number one, they've got to build their own brand.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll know when a particular wrestler gets to 1,000 followers or 1,000 people of some sort. Hold on one second.
You're good. Go ahead, man. It sounds like they need you.
I'll be right back.
You're good. It would be hashtag truth if we didn't have something like this go on. I just want to thank Brian Kanabroski for coming on here, and he is very professional. He is a very professional gentleman to answer all our questions for him, and I'm glad he's here. I don't know what just happened, but
all right. So evidently, my 2 kids are playing Fortnite tag duo, whatever it's called. And they're whooping up on some 20-year-olds right now. So,
and they had to brag to Dad right now, right?
No, that was so. I guess someone's mic wasn't working. You know what I mean? So they were having some technical difficulties, and my son forgot that I was doing this. So I was like,
"Good, you're good, man. You're good."
So that was when he's like,
the crazy things I've had happen on this show.
Well, I'm like, I know nothing's on fire. I was like,
emergency. That's all. I'm glad it wasn't an emergency.
No emergency. But so where were we? I was like, so in promoting a show, okay, yes. It is partially the responsibility of both parties. Okay, the match announcement and on the poster, yes, that is the responsibility of the promoter. The promoter is the one to sell tickets. But now, don't think that a smart promoter doesn't know who's sharing their blank.
Right.
Okay, and that blank started with an S just now. Okay.
Right. Oh, I know.
So, because there was a time when, I still look at it. I still know who's sharing it. We're at the point where, okay, if I can only draw 250, a little help, I can handle most of it on our own. So I'm not really putting a lot of pressure on the guys, because if they're working their regular job, I don't want them to be worried about that, where that's my responsibility.
Right.
Okay. Now, in a normal situation, and this goes out to anyone going to a small show and working a small show where you have, let's say, less than 50 people in the audience. Okay. If you are, and I'm going to word it in option A, option B. Okay. If you are getting paid on that show, okay, what I mean by that, if you're getting $10 for gas money, then yes, you need to at least share once every couple days. Okay? If you are getting a hot dog and a handshake, okay, how much is that promoter investing in you that you need to reciprocate and invest in him and his promotion? Okay? A lot of guys right now, and this goes out to the young wrestlers right now, if you have worked 6 shows for a promoter and he has never paid you on once, you need to examine your life and what you are doing right now.
Right.
Okay? Because you are getting taken advantage of. You are risking your body for someone else's benefit.
Right.
So it bothers me in the sense, but to go back to our original point, number one is the promoter's job to get people to show up. Number two, if you give a crap about that promoter and that promoter is paying you well, then yes, you need to assist him in that. And taking the 30 seconds out of your life to get paid a very good fee is beneficial. Okay? If you are a wrestler who has a desire to get to another level, then yes, retweet, reshare those above you in what I call those levels. Okay.
What about a promo?
What's that?
What about a promo?
All of our promos normally get sent to us, or I don't want to peek behind the curtain too much, but
right.
I mean,
well, I'm just saying, should a wrestler, if let's say there's a tag team out there, okay?
Yes.
And I'm just going to throw some money, figures out there. Let's say we got a tag team, and they're a pretty good tag team. They're pretty well known in the area. They're getting $50 a piece to come and wrestle in this small town in North Carolina. Okay.
Yep.
Wouldn't they kind of be indebted to that organization to at least do a promo for them?
Not if the promoter didn't ask for it while negotiating.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
Okay. Because if, let's say, I'm going to use your example, tag team blah, blah. If the blah, blahs agreed to $50, did the promoter ask them, hey, but originally they asked for 75 or 100, okay?
Right.
And promoter in the small town said, hey, all I can do is $50 a piece, but if you could do me a favor, and if you could promote it with a promo, I'll get you an extra 10 each. If we get to 200 views on that promo, then he just got $10 worth of social media advertising, and he was going to pay it anyways, if he does any social media advertising. But you rather would see it go to the boys.
I got you.
Okay? So like for us, if we have a certain attendance level, normally we do bonuses based on attendance.
Okay. I love James Johnson. He said trademarking team blah 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 right now. Go ahead.
Oh, come on now, James. All right, how about this, James? James, you suggest your tag team partner, and we'll do team blase blah.
I love it. He's going to come back with a partner right now.
I've got a good idea of who we could use. A couple different guys.
There you go. See, that's what I love about a good promoter. They've got it. Boom, just like that.
Well, I mean, to give you an idea, like we've changed. Like when we bring some of the guys in, if they already have a character, it's our job to help push or help develop that character a little bit further or tweak it.
Right.
We do a lot of tweaking, and a lot of the guys who have worked for us have done some tweaking. What's up, Manny? So, and that's the whole thing, Now
I have a question for you, because we're talking about, one of my big lines on my show, and you've watched my show well enough to know that one of my big lines is give me something to invest in. So how does PWX go about writing storylines? Do you have writers who do that? do you get together with the wrestler yourself and say, hey, what do you think we should do? Or who do you work well with that we can do so? How does things get written for PWX?
With a lot of rough drafts.
I like that answer.
When you're at our level, and I say that loosely, but even on the independents, the big thing that's missing from, let's say, a Monday night show is there's too much writing.
Yes.
Okay. We're a little bit more.
As far as saying stupid writing, but go ahead.
We're a little bit more old school in a sense of we let the guys assist in the development of a story, because if they're telling a story in the match, we want that to reflect the end goal.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the Outlaw saying, don't ignore me, Scott Larson. I love to ignore you, Outlaw. I'm just saying. Go ahead.
But, yeah. So, I mean, it's got to make sense. Okay.
Right.
You've got to find a way to invest the fans. Don't insult their intelligence. And leave it loose, because you never know. And you've always got to have an option A and an option B. Okay. Because if you paint yourself too loose into a corner, then you're trapped and you're stuck.
Right.
You know?
I like doing that because I'm dabbling in being a manager right now, a heel manager. Some people have been watching it, some people haven't. But, you know, and I've always, and that's one thing that I pride myself when I'm talking to the promoter and the wrestlers, you know, I want to leave an out at the end. So in case that other wrestler that I'm, you know, doing the you know, promoting against can't make it to the show, I've got an out that I can wrestle. My guy can wrestle another guy, and he just fills right in. You know, is that sort of what you're talking about?
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Like our February show is different than what it was originally planned for the first week of January.
I would love to see if you guys do this on a notebook or something. I would love to see the scratch outs and the rewrites.
It's not a notebook. We're a little bit more high tech than that.
You know what I'm saying? Wherever you guys are writing this and you're scratching it out, big think tank poster, man, that would be so awesome.
It's I mean, to give an idea, like my planning board is, I haven't touched it. Like this side is my New Japan planning board over here. Hold on, I can kind of give you
Oh, there you go. That's what I'm talking about right there. See?
Okay. And where we're running shows and stuff like that. But you've got to be prepared. If you're not prepared for someone not making it, okay. I mean, there's been times when I've been up at 3:00 in the morning with the Young Bucks on one line and Delta on the other in the middle of a snowstorm. You know what I mean? Trying to make sure my fans aren't disappointed because they paid money to see the Young Bucks.
Right, without a doubt. But there's always, but we know as fans, there's always that, you know, card subject to change. But we hate those. We hate that line on a poster. I'm just letting you know that. I know why it's there, but we don't like it.
I try extremely hard to not let those difficulties happen.
Right. I can see that. And I love any promoter who is willing to, you know, I've heard stories of, you know, some of the small shows in my area where a wrestler will call in 20 miles away from the venue. They live 50 miles away, but they call 20 miles away. Hey, my car broke down. Hey, give me 5 minutes. I'll have somebody, we'll come pick you up and take you the rest of the way. I'm just going to take $5 out of your pay or whatever. All right, we're on our way. You know, something like that. But it happens.
When you get to the point of traveling state to state, you better have a reliable car.
Yes, without a doubt. That is one thing you want to have as a professional wrestler anyway. You want to have reliable transportation, and you not relying on somebody else, but you have a driver's license, a car, you know, a way to get somewhere. Because if you're relying on somebody else 9 times out of 10, 95% of the time, something's going to happen and you're not going to make it.
And I mean, I can tell you one person like Marco Stunt. Prior to him getting signed for AEW, he owes me a booking, brother. You know what I mean? It's like,
I love that.
but it's one of those where it's like him. I mean, there's been times where, you know, I've had whole carloads, you know, hit a deer at 3 o'clock in the morning. They're like, oh,
there are things that happen. I mean, there's some things you just can't, you know, control. You can't control everything.
Right. And they're driving from St. Louis and they're in Tennessee. You know, they're not going to make it.
Right.
So
I have to ask you this, and if you say, you know, you can't do it, that's fine. But I've been asked to ask you this by a few people. Of all the wrestlers you've had come through PWX, and you can name a few if you'd like, who is your favorite wrestlers to watch? You personally, that you love.
Lord. So we have a show that didn't make it on our network that we had a lot of camera issues, which was Believe the Hype 2015 in Gastonia, a 44-minute match of Anthony Henry versus Tommaso Ciampa.
And I'm going to say this because I can. Tommaso Ciampa is from the great city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, my hometown. Good guy. Anyway, go ahead.
So yeah, that was a good one. Caleb and Cedric had a lot of good matches. Hold on one second.
Manny Mac just said Brian ran Grady Cole Center. That's legendary status. That's another promoter, guys, telling this guy that he's a legend. That's awesome.
Ask Manny if he wants the bills from that one.
I can see him now. He's already doing this.
That place is so expensive, but so worth it. I mean, just the history in that building.
Right.
I mean, there's so much history in that building.
Favorite wrestlers to watch.
I mean, getting to see, here's what's crazy. There's some pictures that our production crew got of Liger before he made his entrance at Grady Cole. And all you see is so we had 2 hazers and a fog machine set up there. Wow. And all you see is like this silhouette of him in the dark as he's about to make the left turn from Gorilla down the ramp. And man, just chills seeing that picture.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
That's stuff that we like to see as fans, that, you know, you guys get to see backstage, but we don't. And that's what makes some of those shows like on WWE Network where they show a little bit of behind the scenes. We love to see that. Like the wrestlers, right, what they look like right before they come out, you know? We don't want to see all the stuff that happens back there. But like right when they get up, like you said, right up there to Gorilla, where they're about to go through the camera, what they look like, what they're doing to get themselves ready or psyched up, that's cool for a fan.
I mean, that was one. I mean, we've had so many, like, I mean, even last month, the raw emotions, Anthony Henry, James Drake, Anthony's last PWX match.
You just keep bringing up James Drake, man. You just keep throwing that. I'm just joking with you.
No, I mean, James has got some good stuff for multiple organizations in the frying pan. I'm looking forward to seeing that. So it's fun sometimes just to, when you see people work 10, 15, 18, 19 years just for their shot, and when you finally see that reward at the end of that journey, it all pays off. I mean, I remember, I still text some of the guys that are at WWE now, just to check on them, and, you know, have those conversations like, man, I miss PWX, or, hey, I'll talk to you in 3 years when my contract's up,
Now, I've got to ask you, because there's a hometown boy from right around our area where we watch wrestling up in North Carolina, Cedric Alexander. Everybody loves Cedric Alexander. When's the last time you talked to Cedric? Uh-oh.
Within a week, probably.
A week ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not that, but I'll talk to his wife, Ariel, but he's sitting right next to her. You know what I mean? Because if he don't answer the phone, then I'll text her. I'll be like, hey, tell your boy. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I got you.
So him.
Wow.
It's weird, the connections over the past, especially the past 4 years, that have just really, it's crazy. It took me probably a year and a half to 2 years to really earn the respect of the boys, because I was an outsider coming into the company. Okay.
Right.
But once it got to the point.
Did you have any wrestling? Did you have any wrestling knowledge, or were you in the business in any way before you took over PWX?
I was in event promoting before I got married. Good Lord, when would that be? 2003 through 2008.
Okay.
But mainly that was bars, events, bottle service parties and all that type of stuff. So
was it a hard transition to learn how to get it done?
No, because a lot of what I'm using is kind of some retail and car business type model of how to get a customer, how to attract that customer, how to earn that customer's business, and how to keep that customer's business.
I just had a bad vision of you standing, like doing a commercial going, this is our new model, and you're showing a wrestler here. This guy can do, that's just how my mind works.
It's crazy though, but there's a little bit of that in there.
There's a little truth to that, right?
Yeah. Manny does some commercials for car lots, so he can tell you there's some of that in there.
Oh yeah.
Where you're trying to garner that attention.
Right.
In a certain way for a certain result.
Right.
It's very, very similar, and most advertising is that way, to where you want to get them there, earn their business, and
hopefully make a fan out of them too, because if they're a fan, they're even more willing to put some money in stock in your company, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So.
James Johnson said, seeing Brian studying the algorithm and the statistics of the way he advertised is freaking nuts. I can imagine, James, because he's looking down like every 15 seconds and he wants to say thank you to every name that pops up on his phone. He's just, you can see it in his eyes.
So I was talking. We were at the last show, and I was talking to James, and I was like, man, I don't know where I'm going to put all these people. And he goes, what do you mean? He's like, what do you mean? And I was like, the site traffic is so high, I'm going to sell more tickets than what I can, so I got to turn off tickets. And he's like, why would you turn off?
Why would you turn off tickets? Hello.
But
right,
it's crazy how in depth I've gotten with it. That's what I was saying. Like, I know the zip codes, postal codes, age demographics.
That's one thing that, when you talk to some of these promoters, the smaller promoters, that's some of the things that they don't take into consideration. Is they want to put a good show out, they get the best wrestlers they can for their area, but for that area, what do the fans want? Do they want ground and pound wrestlers? Do they want a little bit of everything? What do they want? How many promoters do you know, other than yourself, of course, that realistically go out and find out what their fans want. How many promoters do you know that actually walk out and talk to the audience and say, "Hey, what'd you think of the show? What would you want me to do to improve my show?" Have you done that? I'm pretty sure you have. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. See, I mean, it's not hard.
we have
a lot of promoters won't do that.
we send out a customer satisfaction survey.
Wow. See, that blows my mind, because nobody would think about, a lot of wrestling companies wouldn't think to do that. And how much information can you get off of one of them surveys, Brian? Seriously, just give us a little bit of what we could get from that.
A lot. You'll know. I mean, it's a good bit. It's a really good bit. So I mean, you can get, the main thing you're just looking for is someone who takes the time and actually writes something in the notes. You know, where it says "other" on those surveys you get.
Right.
That's what you're wanting, is someone to take the time and fill in the notes section.
There you go. See, I would have never thought of that. So
because that person is emotionally invested enough to where they want to reply. They want a verbal platform. Now, granted, you're not going to ask when you reach a certain point, you're going to know what the fans want, and you can. I'm
talking about small, like, promotions that have only been up for a year or two, that are just finding their way. That's the ones I'm talking about.
I got to be careful. You're going to get me in trouble.
Hey, you are in the hot seat, brother. You are in the hot seat.
There is a reason that PWX and AML are not running in North Carolina right now, and I will leave it at that.
Okay.
Once things open and you can properly have a show,
okay.
If I was small town, let's say I'm running in, good Lord, Waynesville, North Carolina, way up there in Tennessee. Okay. That's going to be an old school, good guy, bad guy. Okay. With some Memphis storylines in there. Someone cheats in the beginning of the show and then they finish it up at the end of the night. Okay.
There you go.
But I mean, you've got to understand.
Charlotte. Now, if you get into a show in Charlotte, let's change the demographic. Now you go from a small city of 500 people. You know, now let's take it to Charlotte. You book another show, let's say a month later in Charlotte. How would the demographic and how would your show change from that small town to Charlotte?
Totally different. So, when we start all of our shows out, we put out a message in the beginning of the show that says, "Hey, we're not going to tolerate any racial, homophobic, sexual orientated slander against any wrestlers, fans, or employees of the organization." Okay. If I run in a Charlotte bar, okay, depending what part of Charlotte, I may even change some of the people on the roster that day.
Okay.
So to where you got to know who your audience is. Like, we're over the border just in South Carolina. We'll have a slightly different show than if we were in Charlotte.
Right.
Okay. It's 30 minutes. It's literally 30 minutes from where we normally run to where we are currently running.
Like I live in Chesney, South Carolina. Everybody knows, small town. The only thing we're known for is Bantam Chef. I'll be honest with you. If you've never been to Bantam Chef, you need to come down to Charlotte and check it out. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Great. Or down to Chesney. Come down and eat. It's the greatest place ever. But anyway, you know, small town. If you ran a show here, we're only, you know, we're only like an hour away from Charlotte, so a little over an hour.
So where Chesney is in between Spartanburg and in between Shelby, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you want to run an old school show there, a good guy versus bad guy. You know, you want to have a tag team match with a hot tag, good tag team versus bad heel tag team. You've got to know who your audience is in that small town. You've got to know how to figure out to get involved in that small town before you run that show.
Now, would it be detrimental to you if there was let's say a local tag team or a local, a local guy who wrestles, to the talent of your roster that you want? I have to say that because you don't want to just throw anybody in there. But if there's a local guy who's popular, I'll make an example, like Memphis Wrestling did with Jerry the King Lawler. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Have that local guy that comes in and he's the big superhero of the night. Isn't that something you'd want to do in a small town?
Depending on the talent, yeah. But if I'm going to that area, I already know who their talent is in that area.
Right. If you're a good promoter and you're doing your homework and you keep track of all that stuff.
Yeah, you've got to do your research on every town. It's you've got to do the research. I mean, the promoter's got to do, just like match and tape study. Okay, promoter's got to know who his demographic is, and if you don't know what the word demographic is, you shouldn't be a promoter.
Exactly.
But you've got to know who your target audience is and how to reach them. When you get in a rural area like Chesney, where you're heading up, what is it, 221? What's the route?
Yep, 221.
221 heading towards Lake Lure.
Yep.
Okay. The internet sucks.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. I'll admit, I'm trying to people at a wrestling show on my way there, telling them I'm coming, and nothing.
Right. But when you're heading south on 221 towards Chesney from Lake Lure, you're probably not even going to have internet service for 30 miles.
Very few spots will it finally pop up.
Or it's like, oh, let me stop at the top of the hill, go ahead and send this tweet out. But you've got to understand that in those small towns, that's not necessarily how you're going to reach that customer through online advertising. Okay.
That's more the ground and pound, putting up the posters, going to the local stores, the local, that's where you're going to, yeah.
Dollar general stores, the corner gas station, the Stop and Shop, the hot spot, whatever it is, okay, that's going to be the only way that you may reach people in that area, okay? I mean, there's other ways, but I don't want to give away too much. But there's,
right. You don't want to give away all the secrets. I get it.
No, but I mean, most of this is just, it's common sense. You got to think, if they don't have internet service, what the hell am I doing advertising on Facebook for?
Right. I mean, closer to Charlotte and the big towns and things like that, it makes sense. It makes sense. Again, use the internet as your TV.
Correct. But that's the whole key. You got to figure out the way to reach them, get them there. Use the guys that are building their brands. Okay.
One of my favorite all-time guys, Perry James. How you doing, man? Welcome to Hashtag.
Him and Derek Driver. I mean, if I can't get them on a PWX show, they need to be on some of these smaller shows. Okay. If I can't get them on my show right now, okay, and they work very well together. Okay.
Right.
Classic, manager, protege, athlete, star. Okay. I know of Derek Driver. I know of Perry James. Okay. Have we figured out a spot for them? Unfortunately, no, but we will. You know what I mean? But it's one of those where I know the skill level. I know they're both ready. We've had them in Pure. I can't remember, and Perry may correct me. It's once or twice. But I know where they want to be. I know their skill level. I know a bunch of trainers that'll sign off on Derek on him. So here's the thing. But you've got to be a promoter to willing to put that investment to where if he's available and you can book him to help some of your younger people get better.
Yes.
I mean, there's a ton of great talent in North Carolina. The problem is you got to pay him to use them.
That's the ticket right there. And you've got to pay them, to use them know how to promote the show, so you're selling your tickets and you're making money. I mean, it all comes together. If you don't do it all together as a promoter, am I correct? If you're leaving one part out, you're not gonna promote it. It's not gonna happen.
Correct. And if that one part of the pie, okay, if one slice of the pie is missing, thanks, Perry. If one slice of the pie is missing, then that's where that could be 40 people showing up or 150 people showing up.
Exactly.
Okay, but here's the thing. If you don't know how to fill that slice of the pie, then you have to hire someone and pay them to either A, teach you how to do it, okay, or B, you have to invest in someone who's going to do it and will be held accountable for getting it done.
Exactly. As a fan, I 100% agree with you.
in the reason we have such a large crew now is it takes stuff off of my plate. It takes stuff off of production's plate. It takes stuff off of Patrick, my executive director, producer. So, I mean, to where he can concentrate on what he has been told by company and what. So let me put this the right way. So we can each concentrate on what we need to per the advice of companies bigger than us.
Right. So each one of you, so basically this is how it would break down, and correct me if I'm wrong. Each of you, like we'll use the pie reference again. Each of you has a slice of the pie that you're responsible for to get done for show day. Between whenever you all right, you say, okay, our next show is this day. The person that does this slice of the pie knows he has to have his job done by that day, just like everybody else. And that's what they concentrate on. If they have a problem, they come to you. Hey, I have a problem. Let's solve this problem. Everybody gets together, solves the problem. That's the way it's supposed to work, correct?
Correct. Sorry, I couldn't. Someone was at Hebron, and I was just checking to see who it was.
I'm gonna ask you one more question. I know we've been on here for over an hour and 30 minutes. There you go. See, people sending you stuff and
no. That's me looking in on the building right now.
Oh, okay. So you're looking at always see. That's one thing that I love about talking to you. You have your finger on every button of your company. I mean, there's not a part. And James was making kind of a joke when he was talking about it, but this is true, man. He said, Brian's studying the algorithms and the statistics of, the way he advertises. You look at you love this industry so much, and you want to look at this. He's going to show some. Look, that's just amazing. How many? I've got to ask you two questions before we go. The first question is, if you were to set your phone down for 30 minutes, what condition would your phone be when you come back after 30 minutes?
Hold on. I'm just letting someone know I'm still in the interview. Hold on. Yep.
I promise. Last two questions.
No. Okay. So if I set my phone down for 30 minutes
and walked away.
Okay. So how many missed phone calls do you think are in my phone right now? Let's start on that number. Give me a number.
If I had to guess, probably one, if any.
42.
42.
Okay. How many text messages do I still have to respond to?
With that, I'd say 50.
678.
600.
Okay, here's the thing. Okay, some of these are so old I can't go back to even see them. Okay, but every ticket I get 2 text messages. Okay, and then other notifications. You know what I mean? So some of them I don't need to pay attention to.
That blows my mind.
I mean, if I told you.
Podcast. I'm not even going to say I'm a big podcast. I do a small podcast, and I thought it was special when I put my phone down for, 10, 15 minutes. I come back and I have 10 or 12 messages, or I have, 2 or 3 text messages. You have 600. That just made me feel so small. That is great.
But it's crazy sometimes when you start looking at, but I mean, then there's times like Sunday for me is my rest day. You know what I mean?
And I'm interfering with that right now.
No, not at all. But I mean, I still wake up at 5:30 in the morning.
Right.
You know, like now I've been playing in the stock market a little bit, so like I've been waking up at 4:30 when UK opens.
Wow.
So I mean, it's
If
one where
amount of passion into all the things that have to go into wrestling, into the stock market, my God, I would love to see your portfolio one day.
I've done pretty good the past couple of weeks, but it's one where you try and I'm the type of person that if you can't tell who likes to stay busy, okay,
Right.
but OCD sporadic busy, you know.
Right.
But then once I get something on my plate, it's like plan it out till it's done, okay, or plan out the delegation and then here's when it needs to be done, and you're setting those deadlines on others. So, and that's helped me a lot to where I'm doing a whole lot more delegating now than I ever have. Like our
but you have to, it probably took a while for you to learn who you could trust, because with a big company like yours and a lot riding on everybody doing their part, you have to trust the person that you're delegating to, correct?
Correct. And I mean, there's a couple mistakes I've made along the way, but I mean, we've got a really strong team that most of them now are noticing when something's off, and they'll fix it without letting me know it's off, and then I never even knew about it. So.
Cole, another promoter in South Carolina, which I'm pretty sure you know pretty well. He said, ask him how many he gets on the day of the show. How many do you get on the day of the show? Text messages or phone calls? Probably be near 1,000, right?
Yeah, and to give you an idea, I looked at it the other day. To give you an idea, the building we're running right now, Rock Hill Gymnastics, is 20,000 square foot. We're using roughly 12 to 16,000 feet of it, so we're not using the whole thing. But we did that on purpose so we could max out at the 250 for fans. Saturday, I think I walked like 14 miles all inside the building.
14 miles. Holy cow.
Yeah. So and then when I do, the way I look at it is you've got to be fluid. If things come up, you've got to be ready for the change and know how to address the change or address the fix. Part of the reason that New Japan has a lot of faith in me is because even when something goes wrong, they don't know something went wrong. They get notified after it's already fixed.
After it's already been fixed.
Right. So, and that's why the boys or the team at New Japan, they have that trust in me to where it's like, no, let's just have Brian do it. We know it'll be right, or we know he'll fix it. He'll know how to handle it the way we need to handle it. So
Cole said, even a small company, you have to trust in people, and sometimes you run into something that is detriment to your company. One small mistake can make a huge impact on things. And we did talk, Cole, you came in late, but we did talk about that. We used a pie reference where everybody, had to did a piece of the pie to get the show ready, and you had to, trust all those people to have their job done by showtime. But yeah, you are right. You are correct. And before I let you go, I've got one question I've always wanted to ask you, because even when you call me at my house, when you see something that you can help me with, or at any other time, you're always busy. You're always on the go. I mean, we had to reschedule this interview like 3 times because, well, I'll get back with you because I don't know what's going to happen. The last time you were driving to Charlotte, and I'm not going to be a part of somebody having a wreck trying to do a show like this while they're driving. I don't feel comfortable doing it. So, but anyway, has there ever been a point since you've taken over PWX? Have you ever got up one morning and went, because you're talking about 600 messages a day, making sure that, everything, all the things that you look into. Have you ever just sat down one day and went, man, this is just too much. This is too much.
Nope. To give you an idea, so I flipped it this year because, with only running through March, okay, and in the middle of a pandemic, I still managed to put 97,000 miles on my car.
Well, okay, if I'm not being too nosy, what did you do during the pandemic if you weren't running that you had to do that mileage?
It's not really PWX related, it's shoot job related, okay?
Right.
But it's one where I'm traveling. I now know nooks and crannies of North and South Carolina better than I ever have in my life. Okay. That's how I can tell you, like, when you go down 221, okay. Oh, here's my smart aleck.
He said, I know, because Patrick does all the work. I love it. Go ahead.
He must be putting them over already.
You've already put them over like 10 times during the show.
How many times have I said executive producer?
Right? Exactly.
But I mean, it's one where, I mean, to give you an idea, Patrick, he's grown a lot in the past. I mean, he's totally switched his shoot job. So, I mean, he's doing more, he works for me, he works for New Japan, and he works another third job, but he gets the opportunity to work from home, and then he gets to travel a little bit too. And all of our schedules now are flexible to where if I want to run a show tomorrow, I'm going to call in,
Well, I lied. I got one more question. This just popped in my head. Now, one of your claims to fame and around our area anyway is you're one of the biggest shows in North Carolina. You're right up under NXT. Okay. Has there ever been a point in time where you thought, man, let's take this thing for a ride. Let's try to get big time TV time. Let's go after, or coincide with AEW and WWE, or are you comfortable right where you're at?
I know where our place is in the industry. Okay.
Okay. That
place is having the ability to talk to anyone above us. Okay. Everybody we've talked about, myself and you, having that communication is vital. Okay. Them having the trust in you, who you are, your business ethics, is vital. I mean, there's a lot of those relationships that exist, but I mean, you don't talk about them, but they exist. Okay. The boys have figured it out. Okay. To where, are we a desirable place to work for? Yes. Is there something on the other side of working for us? Whether you believe there's a connection there or not. Yes.
Right.
Okay. My haters will be like, oh, they don't know freaking nobody. You know what I mean? But then,
look at the wall behind you. Look at the wall behind you. And if they don't believe, I mean, come on, folks.
but then on the other hand, it's, you've got to have those relationships, because those relationships benefit both us as a company and any wrestler coming up through the Carolinas,
right,
as a talent. Okay. Because if someone's worked really hard to make it to PWX, we know how well trained of a wrestler that talent is. Okay. Right. If he has the opportunity to go work a smaller show and help out a younger guy, he's going to do it. He's going to do it with class. He's going to do it with honor, and he's not going to disrespect himself or anyone that he works for.
Right.
You know?
And I'm pretty sure you've had some people, and you've told me you've had some wrestlers like up in AEW or WWE who, they might not have a story going for them. They might be sitting back eating catering. They might call you up and say, hey, I'm available for this show. I just want to do some work.
Is possible.
Right.
Have had that conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it. I could see it. I mean, you could turn around, and I'm pretty sure every one of those posters back there wasn't because they were just up and coming. I'm pretty sure some of them.
No, I mean, when you talk about, there was a time when, and this still exists, when someone signs their contract of like exceptions. There was an exception rule that was in place in Ring of Honor for PWG in California. Okay. There was an exception rule in Impact for PWG in California. We're on some exception list for places to be able to work.
Okay.
So those conversations have been had, and it's just a matter of timing of.
So it's actually wording in the wrestlers' contracts that, hey, if we do leave WWE to go work, this is the places where I will be working. PWX, blank, blank, blank.
I mean, there's times when, I remember in the past, a wrestler was released from NXT. They worked for us for like 2 or 3 shows and ended up back there 6 months later.
Oh, wow. That's
okay.
awesome. I learned something new today.
It's one of those where you got to do business the right way. You got to treat the boys right. You got to treat the boys safe. You got to take care of all this. I know what has to be put in place to book anyone from any company with the permission of that company.
Right.
So you've got to understand.
And you probably know the names of all the people who you have to deal with when it comes to the talent for that company. Correct?
And talk with them.
Yeah.
When I need to. Yes.
Yeah. I would never have you name names. I wouldn't ask you. I'm just saying, like you said, you got to know, because they could sue you in a heartbeat.
When there's certain things that are required when you're booking national TV talent. Right. Do we have all those things? Yes. Is there anyone else? There might be 1 or 2 that would be able to do it and have done it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but it's one of those where there's certain requirements you've got to check off the national boxes for the national companies,
right,
to be able to put those things in place,
Right.
And then having the relationships and the communication to try and push some of our guys. That's my goal. My goal in my position is not to become another AEW, not to be an ROH, not to do any of that. My goal is to assist whoever comes through PWX to get to where they want to go.
I love that answer. I wish every promoter in North Carolina and South Carolina that I am associated with.
The easiest way I can state it is this. If someone working, in Lincolnton,
right,
wants to get to PWX, maybe that's their end goal. It shouldn't be, but if that's their end goal, because you've got it, for us, we have boxes we've got to check off too to be able to get to that level, right? But say they're working there, and then they want to go to APW Chester, and then they want to go to Palmetto, or they want to go to Jay Eagle's place or whatever, to work in specific size crowds or in front of different crowds, because that's the only way they're going to get better, is knowing different crowds. But my key, and I'm going to keep going back and pressing on this, do not injure yourself for no money.
Right.
I don't ever want to see someone risking themselves for no money.
That I hope there's a lot of young talent that's watching my show tonight that will take that to heart, because I do know a lot of people. I do know some wrestlers who are out there working for little to nothing. And
listen, boys and girls. Listen, boys and girls. If you are getting in a car, driving more than 5 minutes to your house, and want to go anywhere in this business, okay, whether that's in front of 25 or in front of 50, okay, you have to be paid a fair and reasonable amount for your time and risk to your body.
Brandon Owens says, been there.
I mean, I've had discussions with guys that have worked for us before they've worked for us. In other words, onesie twosies, okay, before they became part of the roster. They're traveling, they're working someplace, they've been there 6 months. They're very well trained. They wanted the ring time. The first 3 months they weren't getting paid, and then he's paying them $10. I'm like, well, is the $10 worth your time to drive 2 hours in the car to risk your?
That's correct.
But if that promoter only has a budget of $600, then that's what he's working with. Then he needs to book a 6-match card and pay the boys $50, or get the boys that are worth $50 and only book 6 single matches, and he'll have probably a better card than if he books 10 $5 matches.
It makes sense. The money makes sense. I mean, there's nothing you can say to that. There's nothing you can bring to the table that would correct that or change that. It's just, it makes sense.
It bothers me. It truly bothers me that there's still people booking shows and not paying their talent. You are not the best representation of what professional wrestling can be. If there's people that take that as an insult, I'm sorry.
I don't personally, as a fan, I think this way, and correct me if I'm wrong. And if you're a wrestler out there, correct me if I'm wrong. If you're a wrestler and you're going to a show, okay, are you going to give it your all if you do it for free, or are you going to do it your all if you make $50?
Correct.
I want the guy that's going to make $50 that's going to go out there and give me the best show that he's got within the parameters of being safe and give me something to invest in. Not the guy that's, well, I'm just here. I'm doing this for free.
Going through the motions, okay, is not the definition of professionalism. Okay? Not properly seeking the training that you need to get to the next level is not being a professional in professional wrestling. Okay? Now I'm going to hurt a little bit of feelings. Not looking the part unless your part and gimmick is designed around not looking the part is not being a professional in the professional wrestling business. Okay?
In other words, what he's saying is, if you don't have, like, I'll use an example. We got a guy out here called the Bassmaster. He don't come out in full wrestling gimmick because he's the Bassmaster. He's supposed to be fishing on a. So he comes out in a half singlet, comes out in his fishing shorts, and but everything about his character and his gimmick is about fishing. So
Okay.
Is that what you're saying? I could be wrong because you got a twirl in your eyes.
There was a twirl and a biting of the tongue. So I'm okay. So not familiar with him. Okay. Could the gimmick need a tweak? Yes. Okay. But you're talking not to the point of where we would tweak it. Okay. When someone gets at the level of PWX and I get a text message or know exactly to the T, either A, the amount of weight someone needs to lose, okay, B, whether they need to work on their lower body or upper body or tweak the gimmick, shave something. If I know that much detail when they are at our level,
Right.
That's what I wouldn't say judging. Judging is not the right word. I'm trying to assist and guide you to
critique them to be the best they can be.
Correct. Okay. There's a reason people get to a specific level. There's a reason how they get there. Okay. When I know that someone is almost to the point where they're getting ready for a tryout match, or they need something to assist them to get to the tryout match, I will peek behind the curtain and get as much knowledge as I can give them before they get there for it.
Okay.
Okay. It's hard because, I mean, at the end of the day, the box that gets framed around professional wrestler, okay, is if you're going towards Monday night, and I'll word it this way: if you're going towards a Monday night deal, or if you're going to an overseas deal, you better be cut, you better work, you better be training 5 days a week minimum, okay, because that is what it takes to get there. On our level is still pretty damn close to 5 days a week for everybody that I talk to. Okay, and that works for us. I know they're working their butts off. Okay.
Right. I mean, these wrestlers aren't going to come out all chiseled and, 6-pack abs, and not all wrestlers are going to be like that. Don't get me wrong. But the ones that are, they're not getting that way by going to the gym once a week.
Correct. Correct. But that's where that ounce of, or that professionalism level is increased, because the person who's going to the gym, let's just say 3 times a week, at least wants to increase their chances of getting booked to where they can work a show in front of 250 people. Okay.
The difference between time and getting to the larger venues.
Okay. So I'll give you an example. If Titan Wrestling is having a Dr. Tom Pritchard seminar the 20th and 21st, and I'm going to put that over. Here's the reason why. Okay. Personally, I believe that anyone who has worked in that building needs to be at that training seminar. Okay. Because I myself am not trained, but can spot a trained wrestler.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Exactly. I'm not a trained wrestler.
I know that Dr. Tom has produced results. He has produced wrestlers. He has produced referees. He's produced a ton of people in this business. Okay. Him, Les Thatcher. I mean, we had a Shibata seminar for people interested in going to Japan, that type of deal. So, I mean, when you are known to be someone in the business, I want to see someone invest in themselves and go to that. Okay. I will personally reach out to him and ask him for a list of names who attended that seminar. Why? Because they're investing in themselves. You can't be a professional, wrestle Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and be a professional. What I mean by that, in front of the same people, without growth, okay, without knowing if what you're doing is wrong or not. Okay. Some people watching this will understand exactly what I'm talking about when I say sometimes in this business, people don't know what they're doing is wrong. You try and assist them in understanding what they're doing is wrong by guiding them properly in the best possible, least expensive way to help them understand, hey, I'm just trying to help put you on a path. That is the biggest number one thing. Critiques are key. Okay. I am critiquing people right now without being specific. Okay. Right. I'm giving you guidance of me critiquing what I've seen. Okay. What I've had to turn off. Okay. what looked like it was in slow motion so bad that if I hit the slow-mo button, it would have looked paused. Okay.
Okay.
It is very, very, very important for these guys to invest in themselves. Okay.
Right.
When it's more important for you to react to your music getting played and going up on the turnbuckle and celebrating your entrance than it is the quality of your match and the emotion that you draw out of the 10 to 20 people that are watching you. I don't care the number. Okay. The key is connecting with one. One leads to two, two leads to three, and so on and so on. The better you get, the better you are to connect and draw that story while you're in that ring. Okay. It's
Right.
that is the, I want to see when you say, hey, I want to see the wrestlers, okay, invest in some storylines. You say that a lot.
I
Okay.
do all the time.
Me, I want to see the wrestlers invest in themselves.
Yeah, that too. I mean, I'm not, prone to
Because,
not realizing that, but you're right.
okay, it is, and I'm not being a jerk. I'm just being blunt. That's the hard part. I mean, people are so sensitive to people being blunt, but sometimes what has to be said has to be said. It is, you have to literally invest in yourself, otherwise you're not going to get there. Okay.
Right.
Does Derek Driver invest in himself? Yes. I will bet money he's training 5 times. I'll bet money that him and Perry James talk every day. Okay.
Yep.
Does Cole down at Pro Wrestling Union?
Presentation is everything from being a talent to being a promoter.
Yes. Does Cole down at Pro Wrestling Union work very hard on his product? Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
Okay?
he does.
He said point blank, I've heard it a couple times, I may not have the budget of PWX, but I'm going to put out the best damn show I possibly can with what I got. And guess what? He does.
That's
Okay.
it.
And he concentrates, and it's, I know that he's not working with some people right now, but I know that they concentrate on working with the right people, the right trained people, the right look.
He said every day throughout the day, not just once a day, but throughout the day.
Correct. Our team, okay, to give you an idea, if my lighting and sound crew, okay, is practicing and training 6 times a month for a 1-month show or a 1-time-a-month show, what does that tell you about my production team?
That they're going to be on spot when it comes time for that show.
Okay.
And I can even throw something else in there because I know this happens. And if something were to go wrong, they've already got the training, because every time they're practicing, something might go wrong, and then they realize how to fix it really quick.
Correct. The whole thing is, I mean, Perry just said it. Presentation, preparation, okay, participation, okay. You've got to participate in a brand if you want to assist that brand and stick around with that brand, okay. Whether you're in the door or not, if that makes sense. Because the only way you're going to open up the door, okay, is by showing that you want to participate by knocking at the door. Okay?
Now, there are some wrestlers out there that will, and I've personally seen this myself, they will share other promotions posters, and they're not even in the show, or they're not even being paid by that.
Correct. And it doesn't go unnoticed.
No.
It doesn't go unnoticed. But that goes back to the either the way that they were trained or the old school way of thinking is they want to see the business benefit as a whole. Okay. Right. Could I financially go back to what we were doing in 2014 and 2015 and running 3 shows a weekend? Yes. Are we
Wow.
in the environment right there to do that? No. Can I financially afford to do it? Yes. Am I worried about selling tickets? To a point, but it's at the point where, I mean, I'm in better shape now than when I bought the company in 2014, 2015, and we had some bangers of shows. Okay. I
I
mean,
saw Brothers. There was no way you couldn't have good shows.
so, I mean, if you look at, I mean, War Games, first War Games, okay, we had a particular company decided they weren't going to allow us to run 3 weeks before them in the same arena, so we had to move, okay, but we still drew 1,000 people,
Right.
okay, and then they ended up doing War Games 2 years later,
Right.
but it's one of those where I really want to see.
I'll tell you something that amazed me. I was, and you're saying almost the same thing. Everybody knows that I grew up watching Continental Championship Wrestling. There was an interview that they had with the promoter. I bought their video package with all the CCW matches on it, and they did an interview with the promoter, and he said something that amazed me. He said he ran his company all over the South, just like you, basically what you're doing. He promoted it. The wrestlers themselves promoted it too. He used the same wrestlers, few people coming in, here and there, but it was a core group of wrestlers that he knew, would go in there and give it their all. And he went to a town, I think it was Birmingham or something like that. And this was back when WWE was running WrestleMania. They had just started running WrestleManias, like WrestleMania 2, 3, whatever. And he said, I believe it was Birmingham. He said, there's a place where there's two arenas right across the highway from each other. And he was running his show over here, and it was WWF at the time, was running their show over here. Now, this show, WWF, had Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, all these big names. But guess who sold out that night and ran WWE out of town?
Right.
The other promoter, because he knew the area, he knew the rest. Like you said, he knew what the people in that area wanted, and he gave it to him. And WWE, Vince McMahon, called him up, just like you said. And the next time that they realized they were in the same area or the same town together, Vince called him up and offered him 15 grand to change his date. I'll send you 15 grand just to not run on the same day I am.
Right.
Tell me that ain't a business boom right there. I mean, that's amazing.
I'd pay some people to not run either right now.
Well, I think it's for a different reason, though. I got you. I hear what you're saying, but if you were okay, what is the biggest? And this will be my final question. We've been over 2 hours, man. I've kept you a long time.
You're good. Wait till you see. Hey, wait till you see the views on this one. People should tune in for this one.
Oh, I'm definitely going to have a few views on this one. But what would you tell the small promoter? What is the biggest thing that you would tell a small town promoter who's starting in the business right now? Let's say in North Carolina. What is the biggest thing that they need to? You were talking about checking off the boxes. What's the biggest box to check off?
They need to ask themselves one question. Okay. Is this a hobby for you, or is it a business? Okay. Depending on how you answer that question is the follow-up question. Because if they say, no, this is a business, because that's the hot word right now that everyone started taking on the past 3 years.
Business.
Okay. I don't wonder where they got it from. So if it is a business, how much are you prepared to lose to put out a quality product?
Wow. That's huge.
Okay.
That's huge.
Because the two of them are tied hand in hand. Okay. If you're not paying your talent, okay. If you're not paying your talent, okay, you're spending $250 on a building that's not air conditioned in freaking July. Okay. You go to Walmart and pick up 4 fans to put in the corners. Okay. And that's what you want to run as a wrestling show, then you are doing it as a hobby. Okay. Because you are having no consideration for either A, the fans that you want to have them pay their hard-earned money for, that you don't have the decency to book an air-conditioned building. Okay.
Right.
Or B, the guys who are killing themselves and you want them to sweat, possibly bleed, or worst case scenario, possibly die, okay, not being properly trained or working with someone who's properly trained. That is way too much of not enough pro and promoter.
Or professional wrestling.
Or professional wrestling. So, I mean, we can go on and on and on, you know, I mean, there's a whole lot of things that I would fix. There's some things I have in the works.
Let me ask you point blank and bluntly.
Yes.
Would you say to a promoter, if you don't have the money to run a quality show, just don't run one?
Yes. I think there's other ways to be involved in the pro wrestling business. I think the guy that wants to run it's hard, you know what I mean? Because there's, like with our show, when you divide the pie up enough to trust everybody in their roles, okay, the egos go way down, okay? Right. Because there's not one guy that everybody's getting asked the questions of. Everyone's driving down the highway.
I love Perry James. I'm sorry. Mic drop. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Everybody's driving down their lanes together in a caravan of 60 cars, okay? And if we need to push someone in the left lane and let him pass because he's going on to brighter roads down the future, then let that man pass on the left.
Right.
Okay? The whole key is you're moving the whole thing. You can do a train metaphor however you want to do it. Okay?
Right.
The number one thing I was told, if you don't walk in with a stack of cash, don't run a freaking show. You're not a promoter. You're doing it as a hobby and it's not a business. Okay? There's 3 people in North Carolina that I know abide by that business model. Myself, Tracy Myers, and then the gentleman that does oh, come on. I can't remember it, but
there's 3 people.
But there's 3. Okay? Those are the 3 that I would trust to reward a sponsor at the end of the night. Okay? To not take advantage of a person's money and wallet and time that they probably worked because they're a wrestling fan. They probably worked their regular job really, really hard. They're entrusting you with even $250 to put towards a wrestling show. Okay?
Right.
But they're never going to see $250 worth of revenue back into their business. That crap pisses me off, man.
Right. I mean, this is, and I was taught by, I'm not going to mention any names, but I was sat down by a promoter when I started #Truth. And this promoter taught me, you know, the business side of it, the money side of it. Scott, you know, if you can't over budget, you know, your talent and not bring that money through the door or through, you know, revenue streams that's coming in, you just can't do that. You know what I'm saying? If you are selling $5 tickets and you have 100 seats available, that's $500. Okay. If you're paying $600 for your talent, what are you doing? But in a way, if you're paying $250 for a talent, how much talent are you actually going to get? So there's a big process of, you know, again, if you can't get quality people in there to wrestle for you, it all comes down to, are you doing the business any good by running these bad shows, or are you just better off not running and letting the people that do have that money again, it'll stop all the people getting injured in the business. It stops all the, the bad publicity that you're going to get, because there's shows out there that look at other shows. You see it all over the internet. They won't name names, but they'll be like, oh my gosh, look at this poster. If you can't put a poster up that's better than this, why are you even trying? There's businesses that say, hey man, if you can't do a simple suplex, or if you can't lock up correctly, why are you even in the ring? And they try to police themselves, but it ends up being just a war of words and nothing really gets done.
I have a couple times tried to attempt to put something together that'll help.
Thank you, whoever just bought a ticket. Go ahead.
No, that's actually another promoter who's probably watching right now. And,
okay.
And we're laughing at the $600 card because neither of us are close to being able to put together
yeah, I could see if somebody came up to you and went, yeah, you have $600 for your next show to make a card. You'd probably look at them and go, well, when's my next show?
I'd book a 2-match card.
A 2-match card. Wow. See, there you go. Wow.
And I'll bet you I'd make, including the building, 2-match card, $600. I can make $2,400 on that.
Wow. See, now that's wow. You just got to have the right wrestlers, the right, plan going in.
It's all having the mindset. The biggest problem when you get into some of these smaller shows using unpaid and not very well trained wrestlers is everyone wants to do WrestleMania. Man, stop booking over 6 matches on a card, 7 matches on a card. If you don't have the budget, don't do it. Okay.
Shane Dorr said the easy way to success is the realization that delegation of certain things of a vital importance, sanity, and quality of product.
Shout out to Shane. But I mean, it's like we had at the last show, we did 2 different sections. Okay. So we technically had, what do we have? 14 matches or something like that, but we divided into 2 times during the day. So we had the afternoon card, and then we had the evening card.
Okay.
When the fans are at their loudest and they've been there 6 hours, you've done something right.
Yes, I will definitely agree.
But
you got to have the talent that's worth getting that crowd that active on your roster. Right. It's not just something that you're just going to throw up there.
You got to have bookers need to know the word. Bookers and promoters need to know the word crescendo, and understand that they need to book a wrestling show like a movie. You've got to have your slow scenes. You've got to have your action scenes. You've got to have your drama. You've got to take people on emotional roller coasters. Okay, that's a freebie. And
I'm a fan, and I get so disappointed when I go to some wrestling shows, and you'll have one match that will just blow your doors out. People will be chanting. And then you got 5 matches or 6 or 7, like you said. Some people run 8, 9 matches in a night. Then you'll have the rest of the show where you barely have 2 people trying to start a chant. And that is the worst feeling in the world when you're watching a match and you go to chant and there's only 2 people chanting in 100 or 150 people. That is the worst feeling in the world.
So, I mean, part of the training we've had from companies larger than us is knowing the proper placement for each match on the card, and understanding that you've got to lead people into intermission, take them out of intermission, take them to the semi-main, take them to the main. All of that is important in your show. not just booking 8 matches or 9
Now I've
matches.
got to ask you something because I'm a big guy. I love promos. I love promos. What is your how do you do promos on your shows? Do you give a certain length, or is it just by case to case basis when it comes to a storyline or something being said or what have you?
Old school. 3 bullet points. Whatever you need time wise, there's your 3 bullet points. Matches are done bell to bell, no entrance. That's about, for anyone that understands what I'm talking about, you understand, the other ones don't. So, right. It's one of those where, it's at the point where, good Lord, I'm 9 years in this year to the business.
Right.
If I don't open my mouth and explain what I desire to see of wrestling in the Carolinas, then I'm worried what wrestling in the Carolinas will turn into.
Well, I look at it this way, and I'm a fan watching you, and again, you have wrestlers out there who like you said, the end game might be to get to PWX. The end game might be to get to Monday night. But either way, you've got to know what to do and how to do it to get to that point. If you don't have the trainers, like you said, if you don't have the people to guide you the right way, you're doing a disservice to us, the fans. You're doing a disservice to yourself. You're wasting a lot of people's time and energy. And you just got to know. And you just brought up something that just hit me today. When you said, is it a hobby or is it what you really want to do? Because not only promoters, but wrestlers need to hear that too.
Yes.
Are you to go the extra mile for us, the fans? Because we're waiting. We're dying to spend our money. It should tell you that in times like these, and let me ask you something. Just spitball here, your next show, the prices to come to your next show.
3rd row and back, 15, 2nd row, 25, 1st row, 35.
Okay, $35 for front row. I have a family of 3. Right off the top of my head, that's over $100 of hard-earned money during a pandemic where me and my wife might not even be working, but I want to go see PWX. Brian knows that. Brian knows that if I'm coming to pay $100 and I'm in that front row, I want to see something special. He knows that he's got to get the wrestlers to do it. He knows, what wrestlers are taking that step because he's taking all the steps to make sure it gets there. Everybody, it takes everybody. It's like they say, it takes a village to raise a child. Same thing with a wrestler. It takes a village. You're not going to do it by yourself.
Right.
If I'm hitting anything wrong, please tell me. But as a fan, I want you to go through all of it the right way and entertain the crap out of me because I'm willing to pay. Take my money, please, is one of my favorite lines to use. And I rarely use it nowadays. But
it's at the point, Scott, where I was holding back saying this, but I'm going to tell you this. If you come to one PWX show,
I'll probably never go to another show, right?
You will never go to another show.
I will take you up on that. If I'm going to talk to my wife right after I get off of this, and I'm going to try my hardest to get to your first Rock Hill show.
It's literally so a couple things I want to talk about. Okay.
Okay.
Before we cut off, let me get all the
30 minutes, man. Just talk.
Hold on. Let me.
I'm learning so much, man. I knew it was going to be like this. This is almost like, is this how it feels when our children are being homeschooled through the computers?
maybe a little bit. So, all right. So a couple things. First, let's talk about February. Okay. So February 20th, if you are not a wrestler and going to Dr. Tom's seminar on the 20th, please, okay, and this, I'm going to word this very correctly, okay, buy a ticket, come out, and I will give you, if you tell me you heard this on Scott Larson's show, okay, hashtag truth, if you come to me and you'll see me at the show and say, hey, you told me I'd get a money back guarantee if I wasn't happy leaving this show, yes, I will issue your money back. Okay.
Wow. There you go.
Saturday, February 20th, which is a week from yesterday. So this coming Saturday, Rock Hill Gymnastics 400 Mount Gallant Road, Rock Hill, South Carolina. Doors 6 p.m., 7 p.m. bell time. We're going to have a couple of matches. I'm going to go through really quick with you. Our 2020 X16 winner, Harlem Bravado, versus our 2021 X16 winner, TJ Boss. Both of those winners will face off. The result of that, they'll go on to face the heavyweight champion at that time. Our pure championship match, Sugar Dunkerton versus TJ Moss. Mason Miles versus Ariel Dominguez out of Florida. Drew Adler versus Davey Boy Smith Jr.
Wow.
The Revolt versus the Influencers. The Revolt is Caleb Connolly and Zane Riley versus Chance Reiser and Patrick Scott. PWX Innovative Television Championship match. Cam Carter with JP Lehman versus Savannah Evans. Ethan Case versus Chip Day. Lucky Ali versus James Drake. Okay. Wow. Tickets are always available at pwxpro.com. Click live. Don't click live. All you got to do is click the banner on the front page and it'll take you there, and I'll know exactly where you come from and how old you are.
All the demographics come right up on his
Literally, I could follow someone as soon as they click on the website. So
I love it. I love that. I love that.
So that's our February show. Okay. For those of you that buy a ticket online, okay, you'll get early access to our March 20th shows, and there is an S on that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We are, it'll be announced at our February 20th show. The tickets will go live for March for everybody in attendance. We've done it before in the past that way. If you, what's the nicest way to put it? We're partnering with another organization. Okay. That organization is not located in North Carolina. Okay. But they will be running their first show in North Carolina. Okay. It will be broadcast nationwide. Ours will also be broadcast nationwide. Okay. But yeah, you have a ton of options. Once we make the announcements February 20th, if you're not there, you're probably not going to get a front row seat. That I can tell you for March. Wow. Because you'll need the ticket link. But it's at the point where I'm full throttle, even with COVID restrictions. Okay. And the reason, okay, if I was not a smart businessman and did not sell my tickets for $35 a piece, I could not be a profitable show.
Right.
Okay. But there's only 40 or 44 of them. I'll have to go back and look. But that's it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm spacing this to where I can properly social distance people and sell the tickets to cover the budget for the show. Okay. Right. Do I know that during COVID I will have some losses in some areas on some shows? Yes, but we budgeted for that before we turn the faucet back on January 1. Okay.
Wow. See, that's what I'm talking about. You got to take in consideration everything.
If I'm limited to 250 people instead of 500-600, my tickets are going to be priced accordingly within reason, and I know to book a certain amount of talent on that show to fit a certain window of budget. Okay. if I go beyond that window, then that's on Brian for going on beyond that window, and Brian's going to take that out. Okay? But I've got to be prepared for that, and we've been prepared to that before we even came back running.
Right.
What'd I miss?
I'm laughing. Shane Doors over here just he said PWX is better than Monday, Wednesday, and any other day. Brian MF and Kanabroski. You've got a fan, sir. He says you know him by name, so he's just
yeah, no. So it's fun. I have fun with Shane. Shane, he's running. He normally runs down in Columbia, Palmetto Championship Wrestling (PCW). Puts on a good show. You know, some of my guys work there. Some of his guys work for us. The school that Ethan Case does the training at, they help us out every show. They're a pretty vital part of it. So I mean, they're out there helping me sanitize in between every match. At intermission, we sanitize every seat to give an idea. So it's at the point where I want people to be as safe as possible, and that's the key right now. I mean, I want a sense of normalcy. Man, I'd love to be able to, push the pipe and drape back even further and put 14 rows back in.
Right. That's the goal eventually. Once, like we said, once this pandemic starts,
And the key for me is I'm not going to advertise to generate 400 people. I'm going to advertise to literally hit within 3 of my number. If my number is limited by state law to 250. Guess what? That's what I'm advertising for.
There you go. Now, just to again, spitball a number out there. I'm not asking for an exact number, but before COVID hit, when PWX was running strong, give a dollar amount for one show advertising.
In advertising money?
Advertising. You're advertising. You're putting commercials out, radio. First, how did you advertise, and how much money did it cost?
My name is not Colonel Sanders. Not giving up that recipe.
Okay. Okay, I got you.
Okay, and it's 4 figures every show. You know what I mean?
Figures every show. See that's and what do you tell a promoter who can't put that much out there? What do you tell the small guys who are running
something else for a hobby? Pick something else for a hobby.
Oh, wow. Okay, I got you.
I mean, it's if you can't go out there and do that, okay? Give me a number of what you want to draw, Scott. I'll tell you exactly how much it costs to get a fan to show up.
I'm going to tell you a great show for a fan, and if you fill it out, 200 people.
Okay, 200 people. You should be willing to invest.
Give us the lowball number. At least
$400 in advertising minimum. Okay. So for a 200-person show in a town with a population of 20,000, okay, you're trying to get 10% of that population there. Okay. You need to spend double what you plan on attending to get there. If you're a new promoter starting, you have to dump a crap ton of money to build your brand. Okay. I mean, you heard Manny when he was on here a couple weeks ago, right?
Yes.
Manny's dumping a ton of money into XWW and just getting the Facebook likes.
Right.
Okay. So I mean, he's probably $500 a week.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Because he wants to make people aware of it.
Well, he bought a computer and he didn't put the dollar amount. He just put it up on his Facebook page. I just bought this for making commercials and that. And I was thinking, man, that's a pretty decent looking computer. I'm going to go look it up. $5,000. $5,000 for that computer.
And I can do the same thing for $400.
just, but again, I understand that, but he's investing. He's you know, it might be crazy money, but he wants to be better. That's the point I'm making.
Yes.
I mean, he's not just sitting back relying on other people to do his job. He's trying to get better.
Yeah, I mean, if Manny would have reached out and said,
James Johnson, we were going to wrap things up 34 minutes later. This is the good stuff.
I mean, if Manny wanted to look at it different and reached out and said, hey, what do you recommend reasonable amount to do live streaming? I would have recommended a totally different product, and he would have saved himself $4,000.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I don't know exactly how he put that, why he bought that certain computer.
I mean, he's looking at it in combination. He's looking at it in combination with the platform that he's using.
Right.
And it's a good product what he bought. There's no denying that.
It better be for that money.
But I mean, it's an all-in-one. I mean, it all depends on if that is the model that he picked, then he's doing it for a very specific reason.
Right.
He's wanting to live edit on the fly. He's wanting to do some other stuff, inserting lower thirds and inserting. I mean, when you get into the technical side of an online production, that's capable of doing it.
Right.
Would I have done it a little bit cheaper and invested some money in some different ways? Yeah. You know what I mean? If you gave me $6,000, would I be buying a piece of equipment for it? No.
Okay.
You know? Now, when we were off for the past 9 months, did I invest $6,000? Yes. Was it all into one piece? No, but it all went into one department.
Okay, I got you.
You know, so, and now we've graduated past that, and now I'm taking what I normally invest into the company for its growth, okay, without selling a single ticket, okay, not geared towards a show, but geared towards growth, okay. Right. It's like to go way back 2 hours and what we touched on the stock market, right?
Right.
You've got short-term investments. Your shows are short-term investments. Right. Your equipment and your investing back into the company is your long-term investment. So Manny is looking at that piece as a long-term investment, okay? He's got every 2 weeks he's got to put out a show, okay? So for him, he budgeted, okay, for 52 weeks, he probably budgeted, hey, if I spend this up front, $100 a week, it saves me X amount of dollars. You know what I mean? Or it's $250 every 2 weeks is what he's putting into the kitty to pay himself back for that piece of equipment.
Right.
Okay. As you can tell, I'm a numbers and analytics guy. So if I'm thinking like him.
But this is what it takes to be a good promoter, and that's what I'm trying to get out to the promoters who are watching. I'm pretty sure there's been quite a few promoters tune in. They might have tuned out too, but that's okay. But if you want to succeed, it's not just getting talent, bringing them in, running a show. There's all. I mean, it's a deep well, and if you don't go all the way to the bottom of that well, like you said, it's a hobby. Go home.
If promoting is not your wheelhouse, if you were a wrestler who didn't make it as a wrestler, okay, and then got into promoting, but your promoting is not being successful either, then that's the question you've got to ask yourself: what the heck am I doing, and why am I wasting time doing it? Okay. I had no desire to even get into the wrestling business. I even, when I started with PWX, it was more about helping with the books, the analytics, analyzing how to fix it and make it grow. Okay. When I bought into the company, we had 420 Facebook likes. I mean, across social media platforms, we're probably over 40,000. I don't even watch it anymore. Okay. Right. I mean, there's 20,000+, I think, on Facebook, but the likes don't count.
Right.
Interactions and conversions is what is the proper thing you need to be looking at.
Right.
Okay. So I mean, yeah. Do I want to drop $1,000 a month and just advertise on Facebook for Facebook likes? Nope. Okay. I'm going to hold on to my audience. They're going to get the best product possible for their hard-earned dollars. And I'm going to make sure they want to show up at every single month and they enjoy themselves, have a great time. We do it safely. They have no concerns bringing their kids. You know, they have no concerns bringing their pastor or whoever, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, it's very difficult, but yet it's not. You just have to decide you got it. When you're an entrepreneur and a business owner, you got to go all in. If you ain't willing to go all in, then you're only half-ass doing it. Okay? Sorry, censors. You know?
That's something that some people out there need to hear. They really do, because I get so disappointed. And if you go to a show, or if I see a show even taped and you're watching it, it breaks my heart to see wrestlers, even good wrestlers, killing themselves in the ring, and there's 20 people watching them. That just kills me as a fan. I mean, I'm delighted that they're wrestling. They're still wrestling, because if I was a wrestler, that would break my heart to look out and know that a promoter isn't doing his job, or the wrestlers aren't doing their jobs. You look out and you see 20 people in an audience. That's got to, and there's 500 seats. I mean, you're like, oh man, you know.
I've seen pictures
anyway, but you know, it's got to break your heart.
There's one show, as soon as you said that came to mind, that had a lot of the right people in places to help that promoter and assist that promoter. But that show wasn't successful. You know what I mean? And it hurts my feeling that, I mean, even in the case of someone that, let's just say you have someone that has thousands of dollars. Hey, I got $10,000 I want to put on a wrestling show.
Okay.
My advice would be, seek the advice of someone that knows what they're doing.
Yes.
Don't attempt to do it yourself. You're going to literally lose 15 on the 10 that you had invested.
Trust me, I talk to people all the time, and not that I'm not talking wrestling, I'm talking podcasting now.
Right.
I have podcasting people come to me and go, Scott, I love the way your show goes. I want to learn to do what you do. And I tell them, are you willing to invest 8 hours a day? You invest 8 hours a day in your show. I watch 6 hours of wrestling every day, at least minimum.
Right.
I have to keep up with. I wouldn't be an independent wrestling podcaster if I didn't keep up with the independent wrestlers in my area. That just makes no sense. You know, I'm trying my hardest not to be the guy that, hey, have you heard of this guy? And I'm like, no, but you run an indie podcast show, a wrestling show, and you don't know this guy? He's got like 5 belts over here in this area. You know, why don't you know him? You know, I don't want to be that guy. And again, you know, it's the same thing with anything in wrestling. You got to put the time, the effort, the money. When I first started this, I always tell my story. I started with, you know, you were there, you saw, I started with a telephone, you know. Now I've got, you know, a $200 microphone sitting in front of me. I've got a $400 box over here that I run my show through that I haven't even used all the stuff that it does. I mean, I've got sound effects that I can run during my show if I want to. I do call-ins. I don't use that on hashtag as often as I should. I mean, because eventually I'm going to grow to that, you know, and when I get to that next step, it's going to be meaningful, not just, you know, throw it up there and see what I can do with it. I'm going to have reasons to have call-ins. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And people don't get that. They think, you know, just, oh, it's so easy. You know, who'd you pay to do your backgrounds? Nobody. I do my own backgrounds. They're not the best in the world, but I'm learning to get better and better and better at it. I'm still learning myself. I don't want somebody else to do them for me. You know, I've called people, graphic people, and said, hey, how do you do this? How do you do this? Well, I don't give that information out for free. Well, how much does it cost? Well, I'll tell you how to do this if you PayPal me $10. Okay, it's on the way. You know, right. You got to make their money too. And it's the same thing in wrestling. I can understand that. And the fans appreciate it, you know?
I mean,
yeah, we can beat that horse with this all day, but if people aren't putting time and effort into what they're doing, nobody's going to return time and effort to them.
Correct.
Period.
And that's why, you know, when my production team says, hey, we need this, all right, order it and I'll reimburse you, or send me the link of where to order it.
Right.
But I trust them to where if they tell me we need it, then we need it.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And that runs literally from concessions all the way through.
Right.
You know, like I'm wanting to help out Title Belt, the ice cream company. You know, I'm like, they brought some for us to try out. They brought it to the boys in the locker room. Okay. And got over big. Okay. But then I said, all right, I want to pay this back and I want to get this in front of some fans. I was like, make up a batch, however many you want, and give me a price point. We'll sell it. I'll give you the money. I'm not even worried about splitting it, nothing. I just want to get it because my kids stole it all. I just want it back so I can get some more ice cream.
See, that's what I'm talking about. And it's the same thing with, you know, and again, I'm going to translate it to podcasting because that's what I know. You know, other podcasters, you know, Scott, why do you share other podcasts on your page? Aren't you? That's competition. No, because when I share them, they're going to share me, and it's free advertising. Hello, you know, I don't have to pay for everything.
No,
it's got to know what to do, and you got to know the right people that's going to do that. Go investigate the podcast, see if they've done it before. Just like you got to do your homework.
So information is king. The more you train yourself, the more you add to that word in pro and build up that pro and professional, the more you will be rewarded.
Exactly.
So,
and I want to say again, I'm the biggest fan of wrestling. I hate I hate critiquing wrestling shows. I hate critiquing wrestlers. I will if I'm asked, but I want to be a fan. I want to show up and have fun, just like the guy sitting next to me. I'm there to be entertained by a sport that I love. And yes, I'll call it a sport. Why do I call it a sport? Because they train, they put an effort to it, they put money into it, just like baseball, basketball, and football. And their end game is to get a contract, just like those same sports, and be the best they can be. So, yes, professional wrestling is a sport.
you got to treat it as such.
Right. And well, we've been on here for 2 hours and 50 minutes, sir. You are now the longest ever hashtag truth. You have just become the longest hashtag truth by about 5 minutes.
I literally lost track of time. I know I got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my gosh, I won't keep you too much longer. I was just told that my niece has big news for me, so I got to get off and find out. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. The rock eyebrow over here. Uh-oh. You know, when my wife's telling me to cut a podcast short because there's family news, it's either really good or really bad.
Well, I will pray that it's really good, sir.
Yes, me too. But Brian, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. It's always a pleasure having you. And yeah, Chase said thank you for all the advice for the young guys. Thank you for the advice all the way around in professional wrestling, man, from one of the best guys in our area that's running a show. And I want to thank you personally for calling me. You've called me up 2 or 3 times, Scott. You know, hey, I see you're trying to do this. Do you need any help? I appreciate you reaching out to me, my family. It's just great to know that there's somebody out there who isn't too big in their skin to not reach out and help the little guy.
I started technically in the wrestling business on the podcast side.
There you go.
But I mean, I checked off Bruno Sammartino interview, Jake the Snake Roberts. You know what I mean? I had exclusive rights for a good time with ROH for a little while. So, I mean, Go big or go home, brother. Go big or go home.
Big one that I went for, I got right away. So I'm happy about that. But I'm still chasing some of the other big ones. You just made a text message today that's helping me with another big
I
fish.
will help out with the James Drake one. Okay.
and I will send you 50 thank yous if he comes on #truth.
Don't forget, you and the family, tickets to any PWX show, jump in the car. It's not bad.
I am as soon as I get off the phone and find out what my niece has to tell me, if it doesn't make me cry for the rest of the night, I promise you I'll be talking to my wife and trying to get to the Rock Hill show next week.
You got it. All right.
No.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Thank you,
for supporting
everybody.
Scott.
Brian Kanabroski right here, PWX owner and promoter. There's none other better in the business. You just heard almost 3 hours of great things that will help you with your promotion and help you to even decide whether you want to keep your promotion. I'll just be honest with everybody out there. He knows what he's talking about. Listen, you'll go far. That is the #truth. We will see you guys tomorrow night. Thank you, Brian.
You got it.